We will officially start at 5:35, but I would like to welcome Kololo. Thank you for joining us. Most of you probably
Hi,
remember her.
it's my pleasure.
I don't know if you remember Susan and Don, and of course Michael.
Yes,
But,
absolutely.
Hello, Kalolo.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good.
And Robin Lott, who has been running the MESP program until very recently, and now she's been promoted, but she's been around looking at these data and cheering on our participants since 2005.
Oh, well,
Hi there, how are you?
very good. Happy about your
Good. Say.
Okay, so next slide, Dominique. So for our attendees who just joined, I guess Tamara, would you like to just introduce yourself and say what you'd like to get out of this conversation?
Sure. I'm Tamara Pickthorn. I'm a parent of MESP seed recipient many years ago. So I guess we're finally at the place where this all comes to fruition. I'm just following the instructions on the email that you sent. It sounds like there are some special distribution rules that might apply, and I'm just sort of curious about anything that we might need to be mindful of as parents.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We will make sure that all your questions are answered, but we do have a little presentation to go through as well. And Patrick, if you can be just looking to see if anyone else joins us. But I guess now we will officially start the program. So go on to the next slide, Dominique. Turn it over to you, Don and Susan.
Well, hi. Yep, I will. Hello, all. Again, Don Jones, formerly of the Oakland Livingston Human Service Agency. I now work at a project in Detroit for the last 10 years called the New Economy Initiative, which works on small business development and asset building primarily in the city of Detroit, Highland Park, and Hamtramck. I will keep this very short. As we were just saying a little bit earlier, it's remarkable that the years have gone by since we did this program, some 15 or so years since we started this program. We were excited then, under the leadership of Susan Harding, to put this program in place, and the belief that that these accounts could help the families, not just the children themselves, but the families in terms of building this asset that would help them to move themselves forward. And there's nothing that's happened since that has changed our view of that, and knowing that this is of great value. I want to thank so many of the people that are on this call for all the support that they provided to us at that time. It wasn't easy. There were lots of bumps in the road, but they all stuck with it. But my particular hat is off to Susan Harding and the team. The smartest thing I did was hiring Susan to run the SEED program, and it was only through her diligence and hard work of the team that we got almost 500 signed up and got the program going. So it's great to be here. It's great to see so many of you, and I want to say congratulations to Tamara and the others that have done this hard work. So thanks again, and looking forward to hearing more from folks tonight.
Don, always the best boss to me. So I am Susan. I was the, I think it was assistant director for the SEED program back, and Don hired me in, I think it was 2004. And I am now the CEO of OLSA. So SEED, is very near and dear to my heart. It really got me started, and I, constantly use the lessons that I learned from the SEED experience, particularly as it relates to giving people hope and helping people see opportunity for themselves and their children. I tell SEED stories all the time to both inspire clients who come through our doors now, and also our staff about the difference that we can make. This experience too, for me, I was sharing with the group just a little while ago. At the time I took on the position at Olson Seed, I had a 3 or 4-year-old myself. And so he also is a member of the class of 2020. And, you know, started his 529 account then too. So this is both, you know, personal and professional for me. I'm very passionate about education and youth seeing an opportunity to do whatever they want, whether that be post-secondary education in the sense of a college or trade school. And I'm hopeful that all of those students who received an account during SEED have figured out how to pursue their dream and are doing so. Who knew back then what a unique situation all of these students were going to be in? So I'm really proud of them, and I'm sure all of our participants and their parents have their own stories to tell, but just congratulations to all of them and for making it through a difficult year, and just happy to be back with our old gang. SEED was and will always be one of the most remarkable experiences I've had in my profession. So been a great to be part of it.
And if I could just jump in really quick before Robin starts, after this presentation, if our parent or any of our guests have specific questions about MESP, we'll let them chime in with those. So go ahead, Robin, and then we'll see if there's any questions.
I'm just going to jump in real quick. Sorry, Robin, because I just saw the chat message from Tamara. No, this is exactly meant for you, Tamara. That's why we're here. So please stay. You know, it's just kind of staff heavy at the moment and a little bit of a reunion, but please stay because this is all meant for you. Go ahead, Robin. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. And I just want to chime in that I'm so excited to be here, number one, but excited too to have this reunion and give a big congratulations to the parents on the line. You guys have done awesome work to raise some beautiful young children, I'm sure. And I know you're all excited to send them on their way to higher education. And this is just so indicative of what we all work hard to achieve, and that is to motivate parents to help save for their child's education. So it's so fulfilling to be at this place at this time and recognize and see the fruits of our labor. At any rate, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you a little bit about how you're going to withdraw. I think the process is going to be very easy for you. As you know, it was almost 20 years ago when you opened these accounts. You each have probably 2 accounts, if I'm correct. There's one that has your name on it as account owner that you were saving money in. And then as a result, you all received the matching grant account, I believe. So the matching grant account had been funded also in part by some money from the state. And so there's a little bit different process for both of those accounts that you're going to utilize. So you can go ahead and advance the slide. Basically, what you're going to do is go online to the misaves.com website. And it's very easy. You want to create, and if you haven't already done so, you probably already have, but you can create your own user ID and login information. Once you've done that, I'm seeing some heads nod, then you'll be able to actually go in there, request the withdrawal electronically if you'd like. When you do that, you're going to identify which account that you're wishing to withdraw from. And then you'll choose the amount that you would like to withdraw. You'll then identify what the funds are going to be used for. In most cases, I'm pretty sure you're going to use it for higher education, right? And when doing so, that just basically tells the program that there's going to be no tax consequence as a result of you having saved in this 529 college savings program. You will indicate where to send the funds. You have a couple of choices. You could, if it's your own account, not the match account, I'll review that shortly. But if it's your own account that you put your own money into, you can either A, send the withdrawal directly to the college, or you could B, have the withdrawal sent directly to you electronically. They can dump it into an account, or they can send you a paper check. And then you could take that money and forward it on to the college. Or C, you could actually have them send the refund or the amount to the beneficiary. In most cases, you're going to want to make sure you direct that payment directly to the college or to yourself so that you can then pay the college. But then you'll just submit your request. Now, if you are sort of like me, where I don't really trust the online stuff, we always have a paper trail that you can also do. So if that's you and you prefer to do this by mail, you may go onto the same website. You'll be able to pull up a form called withdrawal request form, fill it out and mail it in. It's a slower process, but it gives you an opportunity to circumvent the computer interaction if you prefer to do it that way. And as long as I'm here, we always gonna have a paper process. I just feel like not everyone is so, gung-ho to conduct their business over the computer. So you do have that as an option. Go to the next slide, I believe, is where we're talking about the process by mail. So if you are going to submit your request through the mail, you'll go to the website, you'll pull the form down. One question I think might be, well, what if I don't have access to a computer to get that form pulled down? If you call somebody at the program, and the next slide is going to give you that phone number, they'll mail you a form. But I'm assuming most people will at least be able to access the site and print that form off. But then you will basically, once you get that form, you'll see where you have to indicate your name as the account owner, the beneficiary's name. You'll have to identify which fund you want the funds to be withdrawn from. You'll have to select a delivery method. Again, is it going directly to the college? Is it coming to you or to the beneficiary? The amount that you're trying to withdraw, and then you'll sign the form. Now, if you also go down the bottom of that form, you'll see some information that if you had changed an address within, I think, 30 days or more, or if you had, if this was an entity account, which I don't believe they are, they're all in an individual's name, then you might have to have a medallion signature guarantee, but that should not be applicable to these accounts. You should be able to process your withdrawal without that. The next slide. Oh, and the little blueprint at the bottom of that screen was a note to myself that I still almost missed. For the matching account funds, because it is a separate account, because it was a restricted account, those withdrawals will have to be directed directly to the college. So you won't have that option of directing it to yourself for you to pay the college, and you won't be able to direct that withdrawal to the beneficiary. You will be required to make that withdrawal request that it be sent directly to the college or university, okay? And with that, here's the customer service line. It's toll free. We have customer service reps available 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. And I will also give you all my number in case sometimes you go through the 800 number, and I gotta say, it's not always that easy. They want to give you the runaround. So if you're having an issue, please feel free to reach out to me. And if I can't help you, I will certainly find someone who can help you. Basically, they figure that all this stuff is online, so it's so easy. But you may have an issue. You may get stuck at a point. So first of all, try them. But if you get stuck, then try me. And my direct dial is 517 area code 241-3301. And I will do my best to get back to you or get your message to Diane, who can get back to you. But at some kind of way, we will help you through the process if you get stuck and you're having an issue. With that, I'll open up for questions.
So Tamara, as a parent, please ask your question right now if you have one.
Okay, I do. Thank you. It's a little bit of a specialty question. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, good. The question I have a disabled person. My son is disabled, so he was a participant in SEED. And right now, we're not really sure. He's not a candidate. We had hoped that he would be, but he is not a candidate for, college, traditional college. So I understand that it can be used for other post-secondary options. Are there any restrictions there?
The only restriction Yes, to answer your question, he can use it. It doesn't have to be college per se. It can be post-secondary, it could be trade or technical school. You know, he also does not have a time frame in which that he must use up the account.
Okay, that
So
was my
he
next question.
could, you know, yeah, he could take a class anytime with any frequency. There's no restrictions on that. But as long as the higher education institution he is going to attend offers federal financial aid to the students, it is considered to be a qualified higher education institution. So it does not have to be your average, you know, brick and mortar college or university.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay. All right. Great.
You answered it all. You even anticipated my timing question, so that's great.
Fantastic.
And Dominique, I know there was a couple of parent questions that you got when you called over the last couple of days. If you want to ask those now too, we have Robin.
Yes, thank you. So there is a parent who has the child that was signed up is now in the Navy. So he does not need, they basically give the money.
Sorry.
He want to donate
Say it
the,
again. He was not able to.
want to donate the money to a family in need, or you know they don't need it for education because he's in the military. So they're wondering how they can access the money and have that go to someone who needs it because he won't have any use for it.
So, couple of things on that one then. First of all, he could still use it even though he's in the military. I know the military probably covers a lot of his expenses, but because there's no time limit on using it, let them know they could still hold on to it for as long as they wish.
Okay.
To still use it when he does, if he does, pursue higher education. The other part of that question or answer that I would give is that the family can transfer that account to another immediate family member. Now the match grant account, I don't think is transferable. I have to get back to you on that one. But the regular account they put their funds in is transferable to immediate family members. It could be a sibling of the child, a first cousin of the child, parents of the child, sister or brother of the child. I said sister or brother, sorry. Or children of the child. So they might want to hold on to it unless they have an immediate family member that needs the money, then they could certainly transfer it. And there's no fee to transfer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so thank you, Robin. And so, next slide. So Stephanie Salazar has prepared some things to just take about mental health issues of young people this age. So we'll ask her to go through these fairly quickly because we're recording it. But we wanted to make sure we dealt with any parent questions. So please, Stephanie, go right ahead.
Thank you. My name is Stephanie Salazar, and I'm Outreach and Education Program Manager for the University of Michigan Depression Center. And as a large part of my job, I get the good fortune to speak to high school students and college students and parents about mental health. And this is such an important topic, and so I'm so happy to be here today. So when we were talking to high school and college students or post-secondary students, what are we talking about when we're talking about mental health? So typically we talk about mental health as being on a spectrum where, you know, we expect our moods to go up and down throughout the day. So, you know, maybe you woke up feeling good and then you realized that you had a test that you didn't study for and you get really stressed about it, but then you feel better later in the day. And that's normal fluctuation throughout the day. And so on one hand, we have these sort of normal up and downs. And then on the other hand, we have sort of persistent sadness, irritability, anger, that when the stressor goes away, those feelings do not go away and they really start to impact our functioning. And so that's really when we want to think about seeking professional help. But as we're talking today, any of this, any sort of the fluctuations that we have can be really helpful to talk to somebody and get additional support. So next slide, please. And, you know, we're in a sort of heavy financial presentation today. So how does that impact mental health? So when we're talking to students and young adults, we really talk about the whole person. And we all have these dimensions of wellness that really interact with each other. And we think about it as like spokes on a wheel. And if all of the dimensions are working well, then, you know, the wheel rolls along perfectly fine. But if one of those areas starts to weaken, the wheel is not going to roll as it should. So you might be strong in some of these areas and find that you're struggling in some of these other areas. And so really we want to look at the whole person. But today we're talking specifically about our emotional health. And why do we want to talk about that, right? Why are we talking about depression and anxiety? Well, we know that the first onset of many of these issues is shortly before college age or at college age. And transitions can be particularly stressful, which impact mental health, right? And then so we're transitioning out of high school, we might be leaving our parents, we might have additional financial stressors, we might not be getting the sleep that we would normally have, we might, you know, be having other unhealthy habits. So it's really this perfect storm of stressors where you have additional stress plus your support network is far away from you. And we know that only 37% of students with depression and anxiety receive mental health treatment. And this is despite the fact that many college campuses have free available counseling. But most seriously, untreated conditions like depression and anxiety have significant consequences, including suicide. So we really have to pay attention to these things. And how common is it? It's very common is the answer. And even before the pandemic, about a third of college students screened positive for depression. And I'm talking about college students, but really they look at college age. Just a lot of times college students are easier to survey, but we know the rates are pretty similar. And about a quarter of students screened positive for anxiety. So this is already really common. But the CDC did another survey in June of this year, and they found that over 60% of 18 to 24-year-olds screened positive for anxiety or depressive disorder. Almost half had anxiety, half had depression, or both. And really seriously, almost a quarter of them seriously considered suicide. So we know that this pandemic is making what was already a huge issue even more salient to us. Because of a variety of reasons, including isolation, loneliness, and a myriad of other factors. And then two, it's also impacting the ability to access mental health care. They also, students reported having more financial stress, whether that's because family members lost jobs, they lost jobs. 41% of students reported witnessing race-based discrimination online or in person. So we know that that's a huge issue too that impacts young adults' mental health. And compared to student respondents in the fall, the proportion of students reporting depression increased while substance use decreased. So that's sort of a moment of good news there. But also there's concerns about either yourself or a loved one contracting COVID-19 as well. So how do we recognize it, right? We know that this impacts a lot of people. What does it look like? When we're talking about depression, we often see changes in sleep. So that's either sleeping more than you normally would or sleeping less, having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, loss of interest in things that you would normally be interested in, a lot of feelings of guilt, lack of energy, concentration. And you can imagine that if you're, trying to participate in school or learning, that having low energy, low concentration can make it really difficult to learn. Changes in appetite, so either eating more than you normally would or having no appetite. Physical aches and pains, so that's something that not as many people are familiar with, but sometimes just physical representation of depression. And really hopelessness is one that we would be particularly concerned about. If we hear people feeling like they have no hope for the future, we would be really concerned and we would want to ask about suicide. And typically when we would diagnose depression, we would say about 5 of these for 2 weeks or longer. And then anxiety, right? So anxiety is good in some ways. Back in the day, we needed those fight or flight responses. So if a tiger was coming after us, our bodies would have to be ready for that. But what we're seeing now is that our bodies are staying in that anxious state, even when there's not a lion after us, right? And so when really we're talking about a disorder, we talk about worry, withdrawal, nervousness, or avoidance that's really difficult to control and lasts for a significant amount of time. And for both of these things, what we would really say is when it starts to impact, get in the way of things that you need or want to do, that's when you would want to seek professional treatment. And the good news is that both are very treatable. So what are some things that help? These are good for anybody, right? Is the healthy lifestyle. So we have clinicians who say just what your grandmother told you to do, right? Go to bed at the same time, eat right, exercise. Those are all really good things. Coping strategies, so really finding time to do things that you enjoy, relaxation, stress management, and connecting with peers. And I know that's hard now, but really making sure that you're finding time and different ways to connect with others. Just because we're physically distant doesn't mean we have to be socially distant. And then really learning about these things. I think there's a real lack of awareness. And again, that these are really brain illnesses and they don't just go away, even if we don't talk about them. And really finding support and professional treatment. And when we talk about professional treatment, often the best times are both talk therapy and medication together. Next slide.
Here in New York City, and Brooklyn to be exact. So I've struggled with depression, and I struggled with it like probably starting around my teenage years and well into my 20s, and I just negotiate it now, basically. And if I could tell anything to my younger self, it's that, you know, what works and is patience with yourself. And what's great is that when you are battling with depression, you learn to check in with yourself and to care about yourself, to really take the temp and see what's going on, really. And I didn't do it a lot when I was younger, but now I do it right when I wake up. I'm like, how am I feeling right now? And being able to live moment to moment and check in moment to moment is great. It's helped me so much in my stand-up comedy, to be honest, to be forthright, and just like, you know, this is what's going on with me, just to share what, you know, the ugly, the good, the bad in between, and not be afraid to share. I was so much when I was younger, but not anymore. And if I could tell my younger self one thing, it would be like, you know, you will endure just bearing who you are and being who you are. And if they can't take it, screw them, you know? If you can't, screw them, they can't take a joke.
So I like that video just because it shows that this impacts so many different types of people. You know, he's a comedian and people might not know looking at him that he really struggles, but I think it also really speaks to that idea of self-care and being able to talk openly about it. And I think that's so important to both, you know, take time for yourself, but also not be afraid to tell people and talk to people and ask for support. And so this last slide, again, asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. And so what are some resources that are available? Many colleges have counseling centers, and most of these places have virtual options right now. In Oakland County, there's Common Ground. That's a 24/7 hotline. I think they also have a text line. So the crisis text line also is one that young people like quite a bit. And you know, when I've talked to folks who run that, they say that the young person really gets to decide what it means by crisis. And when they look at what are the things people are texting about, it's often about anxiety, relationships, stress, and not necessarily suicide, which you should definitely tell somebody if you're thinking about suicide, but before it gets to that point of really reaching out and being proactive about it. If you're just looking for a community clinician, Psychology Today is a website that you can look up, and you can look by the type of treatment that you're looking for and folks in your area. And then you can also look at the Oakland County Community Health Resources. So I would really encourage anybody parents ask your student or your young adult if you think that they're struggling, and if you're a young adult, please reach out if you're struggling.
Dominique, I'll let you introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Stephanie, for your presentation. Next, we'll have Candace Curtis here from Bloom Bodies. It's an organization that started in 2017 by two double graduates from the University of Michigan. So both undergraduate, and then Candace also graduated from the School of Education. And what she'll be talking with us about today is just opportunities for students. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So just bringing some things to the forefront on what you can expect post-secondary after your post-secondary education.
Hi, everybody. So yes, I go by Candace Cavazos, but Curtis is also my last name. I have two. Us Mexicans, we do that. We get our mom and our dad's last name. So that's just the thing. So yeah, thank you for that introduction, and thank you for having me today. We started this organization, Kay and I, just because of being first-generation college students and from low-income communities in college, knowing how difficult it was, and like you said, learning along the way what we didn't know, and seeing how if we did know those things, we would have been better off. So we decided to start this to support students and help students figure out the process and be successful. We know that only about 12% of Detroit students, or Detroiters, go to college and get a degree. Sorry, my neighborhood is very loud. I live in Detroit. And so we wanted to make sure that we empower students to not just go to college, but also make it through and graduate. Because a lot of us that go don't actually make it to graduation. You can go to the next one. So I'm just gonna go through these very quickly to see if anyone has any questions. What we always tell students is that you have to make yourself a brand and you have to pitch yourself. So, and that's in everything, college, trade, the workforce, and I'm sure we've all as professionals developed our own pitches throughout time. But we'll revisit this again at the end, but I just wanted to show it really quickly. Okay, that's it. So we're gonna do some myth busting. And these are some common myths that people have about post-high school life. That you must stick to one plan, that you should choose the path with the highest potential earnings, that you can't afford college, that you can't access elite or unfamiliar professional or academic spaces, that there is a set timeline to fulfill post-high school achievements, and that taking a gap year is a bad thing. You can go to the next one. So the first one, you must stick to one path. I wanted to just highlight on the fact that a lot of, so first of all, we have these three sort of main pathways, or four main pathways: college, entrepreneurship, and the workforce / a trade. So we typically get told, a lot of students get told or get the impression that they have to pick one. But what we found is that a lot of these things happen simultaneously or one after the other. So you might decide that you want to go to college, and then you might decide that you want to start a business, and then you might decide that you want to pick up a trade, or in any order. We've seen this happen a lot. I've even seen it happen in my own life. I went to college, I started a business, and I also got a trade for doing hair and nails and stuff like that, because I love doing that. So that's how things can kind of work out at times. You can go to the next one. And then there's the second myth: you should choose the path with the highest potential earnings. I like to bust this myth because what we found is that each path takes some strong investment, right? So no matter which path you choose, you're going to have to invest a whole lot into it in order for yourself to be successful in it. So you can see below, in college, for example, you need grants and scholarships. There's an application process. You have to have academic and professional achievement, but it's not all about grades. And you have to have a post-college plan. When I say it's not all about grades, that's sort of where that comes in. Just making sure that you're networking and doing the other things in college you need to do, gaining professional experience, those kind of things, so that when you graduate, it's not just you saying, hey, I got all A's, because that's not going to get you the job. And then so the part-time job and mentorship. So even while you're in college, you will have opportunities to have internships and jobs that contribute to entrepreneur like ship ideas that might spark for you, and also giving you a resume so that you can be prepared to enter the workforce when you graduate. In entrepreneurship, you have to have money to invest. So while a lot of us may think, oh, I just want to work for myself, there's a significant amount of resources that you need to have access to in order to make that happen. And so usually entrepreneurs will either get someone to invest money into what they're doing, or if that's not possible, they have to work. So usually entrepreneurs are also working while they try to get their business off the ground. So again, it kind of happens simultaneously. And then the last thing for the workforce and trade is research, application process, learning experience phase, where you kind of go through actually working in the field, post entry level plan. So leveling up. When you join a job, you don't want to stay stagnant or be in the same place forever. Maybe you want to move to different, I don't like to say levels because it's not necessarily one above the other, but we do kind of make it seem that way. But yeah, so having a plan for how to execute and navigate your career to get to the best place that you can be in it. And then post-training and certification strategies. So basically the point of this slide is, and I know I'm moving fast, is just that you don't want to just say, I want to be a lawyer because they make a lot of money. You want to really think about the investment that goes into each of these things. What does it take to go to law school? You might find that to go to law school, you have to put a lot of work and a lot of money behind that, and go through a lot of different processes in order to really become a successful lawyer. So when you really balance it out, it all kind of balances. You don't want to just pick the one that has the highest pay. Okay, you can go to the next one. So you can't afford college. That's a myth that a lot of low income students think. I know I was always told that I wasn't going to be able to afford college. Turns out we live in a great state when it comes to affording college compared to a lot of other states. Michigan has a lot of partnerships with like high schools in different cities and stuff like that. Several of Michigan universities, I should say. So if you go to this link here, you can actually find a lot of opportunities for aid if you're a low income student. I got my entire college paid for, like my whole undergraduate career was paid for from the government, like not even from the school, from the University of Michigan and from the government. I didn't get a fancy academic scholarship or anything like that. So it is definitely, the resources are out there for low income students. We just have to access them. So the next one, thank you. I didn't say next slide, but you already knew. The next one, you can't access elite or unfamiliar professional or academic spaces. And this is something, even in research about access to higher education for students coming from low income backgrounds or minority backgrounds. This is something that will hold you back and make you not graduate or succeed in your field. This is the one thing, it's called self-efficacy or advocating for yourself, that holds students from low income backgrounds back the most. The thought that you cannot walk into an elite or unfamiliar space. Like if you wanted to go to college and you've never been to a campus before, you feeling like you can't just walk up on University of Michigan's campus and walk into one of those buildings like the financial aid office or a certain department and say, I want to learn more about this. I want to figure out how to be here. Like that thought is what holds you back in a lot of other areas of your journey that can level you up and get you where you want to go. So we have to first eliminate that and believe in ourselves and make sure that we know that we can walk into any space, because we are allowed to and we have that right. And we can learn about what it takes to be what we want to be, or we can get some support from whoever is there to provide support for people who want to learn. So the consequences of not believing in yourself, not doing this, is missed opportunities, because you won't be aware of what's going on when it comes to funding timelines, opportunities that are seasonal or that are only one time only, capitalizing on your networks. You can't really network if you can't allow yourself to step into these spaces that are unfamiliar to you. You might be the only person who looks like you in that space, but it's so important that you walk into it anyways. Mental health struggles, you might feel something called imposter syndrome, like, oh, I can't do this because this is not me, when really it is. Depression or anxiety, which I'm glad was already talked about. You can feel down about yourself if you don't allow yourself to capitalize on opportunities that are meant for you. And then no representation just means if there's a lot of people if there's no one that looks like you in a certain field or a certain space, and you know that, and you know you want to be there, but you don't step into that space because you feel like you're not welcome there, or you feel it's too unfamiliar and you can't just walk right in and demand, that you get some assistance or some knowledge, then, we won't see faces like ours in those spaces going forward. And that's really important. And I think everyone cares about that. And then there's just general lack of experience and life skills because you're not pushing yourself into spaces. That's really hard for us to do. It's really, really hard. But it's so necessary to have confidence and believe in yourself that you can step into these unfamiliar spaces. Okay, next one. The next thing is, how do you show that you believe in yourself? This is really quick. Just do the research and advocate for yourself. I pretty much already said this. Making phone calls, setting phone calls as in, do you want to you want to enter a certain trade? Go on Google, make use of the wonderful internet and say, trade schools in Michigan for blah, blah, blah. Start clicking on things, start calling these places and saying, hey, what program do you guys offer? Can I set up an appointment with an advisor? Those are things that you have to do and you have to take advantage of those things on your own. Setting up meetings with them, asking lots and lots of questions and taking all the notes in the world. I started a Google Drive for myself when it came to this thing, and I just put everything I learned into a drive, the people I contacted, so that I knew everything that I had going on, and I could look at it and say, okay, I'm gonna make an informed decision that way. So yeah, that's pretty much that. You can go to the next one. And then the other myth is that there's a set timeline to fulfill post-high school achievements. There isn't. Life has so many different complexities. We all have different lives. The thought that we have to complete college in 4 years, or that we have to go to a trade immediately after we graduate high school, these things are myths, because what you really have to do is evaluate your own life and think about your bills, think about your transportation and your living arrangements. What talents do you have that can serve you during the things that you're doing so you can be better supported? For example, I said I like to do hair and makeup. That was something that made me a lot of money in college. So while I was getting my education, I was doing all the girls' hair on campus, and that was helping me a lot financially. So just things like that you have to consider. You may not be able to live on campus, or maybe you can. Maybe it's best that you live at home because you can afford things a lot better that way. So these things, having a job and having bills or having certain responsibilities, can lead to you having more life experience while also trying to attain maybe a certain trade or a certain degree. But that's okay. So instead of 4 years, it might be 6 years, and that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then the next one, turn a necessary gap year into a valuable life experience. So a lot of people say that a gap year is bad. It's not bad. It can be really, really great. It can be time to travel, work, or get an internship, join a community service endeavor, explore your talents. You can prototype an entrepreneurial project if you have something going. Do some soul searching, but I always say strategically, because soul searching is not just waiting around for something. Soul searching, it has to have some intention. So what are you trying to figure out? If you don't even know, then at least do something that is productive, that you know is good for you. Getting even just a job, and then using the time outside of your job to explore your spirituality is perfectly fine. Put the gap year experience on your resume, but don't call it a gap year, because that is bad for branding. So you weren't in school, but you were doing what? Brand that, put it on your resume, and it can serve as something really good. It's okay to have gap years if you fill them with things that are constructive. And so now we're back to, what is your post-high school pitch? And this is just about asking yourself, once you graduate, what is my story? What is my why? What do I want to do for others, or what problem do I want to help solve? Where can I learn and be connected to resources that achieve that? Once you figure that out, then you'll have a pretty clear idea on where to get started. So you have to really do the reflective work of, who am I? What is my real story? Being honest with yourself. And what is your why? Like, why do you want to solve this certain problem, or go into a certain field if you have an idea? And what do you want to do for others? What problem is it that you want to solve? So I can answer this. My story, I kind of already gave you my background. I grew up low income from Detroit, wanted to get into education, didn't really know that yet. But when I asked myself the why question, I can say that I wanted to help students, which is what I'm doing right now. I wanted to help students access higher education and professional opportunities. And why did I want to do that? Because I didn't have access to those things. And a lot of people that I grew up around didn't have fair access to those things. So, you know, and that led me into, okay, if that's a problem that I want to solve, where can I learn and get connected to resources? I told myself college. So I started figuring that out. So yeah, that's really important to know before you step out the high school doors. I think that's everything. I know that was very fast, but I wanted to get as much in as I could. And if you do go to college, this will be very normal, I promise. I'm getting you ready.
Thank you so much, Candace. Next slide, Dominique. So rather than going through a lot of My Seat results or giving a lot of data now, next slide, please. I want to know anybody who's online, anyone who connects this later, that you can always reach us by email. You can go to our website. We're going to be posting things along the way. Since I'd like to use the last 5 or 10 minutes of this time to have everybody who's still on the call, just to give your 1-minute pitch to any students that watch, to introduce yourself and give a word of encouragement, and then we'll end this out. So I guess we can start with, let's see, someone who hasn't spoken yet. Well, actually, Don, you had a question about using the match account. Why don't you ask that first, give your encouraging pitch, and we'll move on to the next person.
Yeah, and yeah, this is kind of an inside baseball question. Robin, I was wondering if this is administrative, if there's a possibility that we can get an aggregated report that shows who's accessed, the number of people that access the accounts. Be interested to look at that in the match accounts. I don't know if that's plausible or possible, but it would be nice to know that information. Now, obviously not names, just
in terms of the people that actually withdraw out of their match account.
Yeah.
We can certainly try. I believe we have identified exactly who they are, so it'd just be a matter of someone generating that report for us from TIAA. We can certainly do that.
Maybe send that.
And I could, if you don't mind, I'd like to also backtrack a little bit on that match account. I spoke earlier and I wasn't quite sure if you could transfer it to another person. Believe it or not, I found my match account document from 2005. And the answer is no, they cannot transfer it to another person, nor can it be withdrawn, transferred, or rolled over to another 529 account. And it does have to be used for qualified tuition expenses. So for those parents that have these accounts, they want to use them for tuition first. Otherwise, it's taxable.
Robin, is that, and I'm sorry, this is inside baseball, I apologize. Is that because that's what we determined that the match account's going to be used, or is that because you determined that was?
No, I believe the state of Michigan, because part of the match funds came from state appropriated funds, they put restrictions on that match account.
Okay.
So I don't think we really had anything to do with it. I think we would have probably been a little more lenient, to be very honest. But that match account also has to be used by the time the student is age 30. And I know I had mentioned that the MESP account had no time restriction.
Yeah.
But the matching grant, so for those parents that are about to activate, go ahead and use that matching grant account up first to ensure that it doesn't expire.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Yeah, I certainly want to, to the parents and to the young people that are getting ready to go forward. I mean, I think the advice that we've heard from both in the mental health, but also on pursuing your life. I think that this is just great advice, to pursuing your life, that all it is a wide field of unknowns. But it is it can be remarkable. And I think that's the way to look at it, that there's remarkable opportunities. And there's remarkable challenges, and lean on your friends, lean on your family, lean on those that are around you that can help you navigate that. But put that one foot in front of the other, take that risk, make that move, it's because the opportunities that are going to be there are going to be there for you. Take that first step, but it doesn't have to be all the steps at once. It's just taking that first step, and you'll move forward. I just wish every single person good health, good luck, and know that life can be and will be exciting. So grab it and go for it.
Thank you, Don. Susan?
Sure. You know, as a parent of a recent graduate and actually with an older son in college, I'm going to give the same advice that I give them, which is kind of maybe mom advice. But, you know, you don't have to worry. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. Enjoy the experience. This is part of growing up too. And I think looking back on my own experience, I thought I had to have it all figured out so quickly and maybe didn't take advantage of just exploring different things. So I really have had lots of conversations with my two sons who are in college about, you know, not being so stressed out about figuring it out. You know, I'm encouraging them to continue to do something. Neither of them have chosen kind of that gap year approach, but what you think you want to do today, 10 or 15 years from now, it may be different, and just embrace, you know, learning all sorts of things and exploring all sorts of options. So again, best wishes and congratulations, and can't wait to see what you do for the world.
And Diane, you haven't had a chance to say anything. If you want to just introduce yourself or say something about the accounts that hasn't been said.
Oh, thank you, Trina. Oh, I'm Diane, and I am Robin's deputy director, and I started with MET about 2003. And I remember as I was taking on learning everything about MET and 529s, Robin would bring me in to talk a little bit about SEED. And so along the way, I've had, you know, the ability to know a little bit about SEED, and it's really exciting to be at this point to meet the people who made this happen and to say congratulations. I know from our work with foster youth and the scholarship that we have for former foster youth, that anything that gives these populations a step up is wonderful. And actually we need to have more of them and have them more, you know, have a greater knowledge out there for people to know that these programs exist, either so that they can support them or take advantage of them. But I would like to just say congratulations to everybody for seeing this through.
Thank you. And I never have done this yet for this call, but my name is Trina Shanks. I was one of the original researchers from the University of Michigan who worked with Don and Susan and the folks at OLSA plus Robin and her team to kind of put these accounts in place. And all I will say now is that we want to be here for you. So if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. If there's anything that you want to do that you don't know how to do, again, if we don't know the answers or if we can't answer it directly, we'll try to connect you with resources, whether at the University of Michigan or throughout the state, who can help, just like we did today in this call. I'd like to introduce my team, so I will go one at a time. Lolita, would you like to go next? Introduce yourself and just give a word of advice.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Lolita Moss. I'm a graduate student, and I've been working with Trina on the MySeed project for at least, I think, 4 years almost at this point. And so I guess I'd like to just say to all of the, you know, college hopefuls or whatever you're trying to decide to, you know, whatever path you'd like to take out of high school, is that there are a lot of people and resources available to you, whether you're aware of them or not. And so if you are feeling discouraged or confused about the path that you'd like to take, please know that there are so many different untapped resources, probably closer than you think. It might be in the form of you know, a family friend or a trusted teacher or someone like that, but there are so many people that do want to see you succeed. So I would say if you are confused about what to do, sometimes the easiest first step is to just ask for help, which can be difficult, but it is so important to learn how to ask for help. And so yes, I think those are the words that I'd like to share with everyone.
And Patrick Meehan is helping organize all the data, some that come from TIA about the accounts, but also more than willing and able to put together answers to your questions and put data points and visuals. And so Patrick, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself and to see if you have any words of encouragement.
Sure, thanks everyone. I'm Patrick Mann. I'm the program manager at the Center for Equitable Family and Community Wellbeing at the University of Michigan. I'll go in a slightly different direction because I don't think I have anything more profound to add about college and than what has already been said. But I've had the opportunity to look at some of the account data that people have accumulated in their MESP college savings accounts that they started with MySeed. And I'll just say that there are other opportunities to invest your money going forward. And I think it's a good opportunity for you to sort of consider alongside your post-secondary education ways you might be able to sort of develop your assets going forward that people don't necessarily take advantage of or are aware that that are available to them. And so the earlier you can start, the better it'll be for you in the long run.
Thank you. Dominique, would you like to introduce yourself and say a few encouraging words?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Dominique. And I tried, while everyone was talking, I said, I'll try to say something a little different. So number one, the weight of the world is not on your shoulders, even though sometimes it can feel like it. It is not any one person's job to change the world. So that's number one. Number two, if you are going to college, trade school, community is very important. So in college, that might look like joining a student group or things like that. Everything that all of my leadership opportunities in college are the skills that I use most. My education was great. And also to be in the workforce, the tools and tricks and tips that I learned being a student leader definitely are the reasons why I'm a good employee. So join groups, but don't overcommit. And then lastly, I just say figure out your values and goals and live in alignment with your values and goals. We all have the right to change our mind. But I think a lot of times we stress ourselves out because we just haven't sat down with ourselves to figure out what is important to me, what are my values, and is there some type of disconnect because I'm not living within my values? Okay, so it's time to reset. So those are my three things, and who I am, since I didn't say that, is I work with Trina as well at the Center for Equitable Family and Community Wellbeing, and I'm a recent graduate from the Master of Social Work program at the University of Michigan.
Thank you. And then I believe that Candace and Stephanie already kind of gave your presentations, but if you have a place that you want people to look for further information or to contact you, feel free to give that right now as well.
Yeah, I would just say if any students have any questions whatsoever about anything regarding post-high school life, please contact Bloom Bodies. You can follow us on Instagram at Bloom Bodies, or you can reach out to us via email, bloombodies@gmail.com. A lot of this post-high school life is about having the support system, like people said, and we are here for that. So we are here to answer even the most, if you think it's the most ridiculous question that you think might not even have anything to do with post-high school professional life, please contact us anyway, because we've had all sorts of conversations and we'd love to welcome you into that community of support.
And I think that's great. And so our website for college age student is campusmindworks.org. It's targeted towards University of Michigan students, but the information there is applicable to anyone. So it's just campusmindworks.org, and I would encourage people to check it out.
And Robin, I will give you the last word.
Fantastic, I love it. Trina, thanks again for all their hard work and dedication on this project. I would like to say to the youth that might be viewing to just be true to yourself. Try to live your life in a way that you are going after what you want to be in the future. I can't say enough how I'm very proud of them all. I'm proud of all of you for getting this far. You're going to make the rest of us proud even more to see you accomplish your goals. but don't be afraid to fail, because failure is a heck of an education. Believe in yourself and be strong. And then, you know, if you can, find a mentor, because a mentor will really be someone that you can bounce your ideas off of and help guide you along the way. I also want to thank Candace for that shout out for My Student Aid in my new role as the Director of Office of Post-Secondary Financial Programs. That's part of what I do now, is the My Student Aid as well. But in other than that, I just really want people to think about whatever it is on their plate that they want to do, and make it happen. You can make it happen. Don't be afraid to go after your dreams. And with that, just God bless you, and hopefully we'll keep you through it all. So thanks, and God bless.
Well, thank you, everyone. I think last slide, I think we are done. But there is a survey if you want to let us know what you're up to. Feel free to fill that out. But otherwise, have a great rest of the day, and reach out in any way we could be helpful. Thanks for joining us, and good night.